Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally getting this TVT series underway. I'm your host, Tyrannus, and I'm going to go ahead and get the player instructions started. Spawning in the top right-hand corner, representing my imaginary girlfriend's favorite color, teal, he is your Terran player.
Strix.
And his opponent in the bottom left of Daybreak, not Overgrowth, which our wonderful observer thought last time. Starting off series, hoping to get a victory under his belt. He was Season 2's Round of 8 finisher in green.
Forged Force Gaming, Clare.
Okay, and we do have a little bit of a build variation coming out of these two players. Strix is going to have a little bit later factory since he decided to make his refinery and barracks at 12. We do have an earlier factory coming out of Clare. Both players put down early racks. No, what am I talking about? Both players put down refinery and racks. Of course, that Terran metagame is strong. Claire's going to go ahead and already throw down his starport while Strix is building a reactor on his racks to start double producing Marines. And he's also going to build a command center. And just as I said double producing Marines, he's going to lift that barracks and drop his factory on it. I'm guessing Hellions. Oh, it would have been hilarious if he started producing Widow Mines. But he didn't. He produced Hellions, and we do have a starport going down on a tech lab, pardon me. So we're going to see some Banshees or maybe a Raven. He might be predicting Banshees to come out of his opponent. But Clare is going to go ahead and float his starport onto that tech lab, and we're going to see if it's Banshees with the cloak going down. It is. It's a Banshee on the way. He has not yet started to research cloak. He's either going to wait for his gas to go ahead and give him the ability to do that, or he might not research it at all. We'll see. Speaking of differences in build order, you generally don't see this order, early rather, of a CC come out of a Terran versus Terran, but we do see that right now with Strix. As he sends 2 Hellions across the map, they're going to poke up here into the natural and find 5 to 6 Marines waiting for them, and they're going to go ahead and hightail it right the hell out of there. I always thought that if I was any Terran unit, being a Hellion would be pretty cool. You've got a sweet, fast car that can take you places quickly, and you also have a giant flamethrower on top, just in case you get any old ladies in front of you and you want to let them know that they're misbehaving. He is going to make a Viking, which is obviously what you need to do when you go CC first, just to defend the sort of pressure that we have coming out of Clare. Clare is sending his Banshee right across, and he never actually researched Cloak. So it's interesting that he decided to do that, because this Viking is going to pop out just in time to say hello to that Banshee and deny any sort of harassment should he keep a good control of that Viking. We do have the second orbital just finishing up for our blue, or teal rather, Terran. He is going to send his Viking to the wrong side of... pardon me, I sneezed. He is sending his Viking to the wrong side, but he does see the Banshee right now, and he's going to go ahead and deny any sort of harassment from that with his Marines and Vikings. He is still producing 2 Hellions at a time, as the second Banshee of Clare is making his way across the map to join up with his brother. Still no Cloak research, and in fact, he's going to go ahead and lift off the starport. So it's interesting to note. I don't know if I agree with that decision, but I'm not going to judge it until we see the results reaped. He made 2 Banshees, but no Cloak, so I don't understand the mindset behind investing that much gas and early minerals into 2 Banshees if you're not going to go ahead and give them the security of Cloak. There is a turret in this mineral line. They're going to come ahead and snipe the SCV building that refinery, and they're going to get another kill, almost getting a 3rd kill, but they don't. And they have a Viking and a Raven already out. You know what? Maybe that's what he was doing. He was trying to get an investment into Ravens, but that's 200 gas, and frankly, Cloak would have been good enough as it is. I don't know why he didn't research it. I'm going to stop talking about that, though, because I feel like I've harped on it enough. We do have a decent supply lead coming in the way of SEVs for Clare over Strix, which is funny because Strix had the earlier CC. The Reapers do try and go in and do some more damage, but they aren't seeing much that they can find. The Viking is able to send it away, and they're going to follow in pursuit. We do have a bit of a Marine tank push out coming from Clare. He's got a really healthy SEV lead right now, and we're going to see if that perpetuates itself through the game. I don't think there's anything really to deal with these siege tanks. The Raven might have to throw down. It's definitely going to have to do something, but is he going to choose to Seeker Missile or auto turrets? The Hellions don't necessarily do too well. If he can get the Marines in a decent positioning, and he does have a supporting medevac, so these Banshees are actually going to pay dividends, I think, because he's going to be able to soak up some damage away from the medevac and, of course, dish out some damage of their own. He's confident. He scans ahead into the natural. He likes what he sees. He's going to have to siege up his siege tanks on the low ground here. In come the Marines and Banshees. 2 volleys go off from the siege tanks to clear out those early Marines. There's a Seeker Missile. Let's see if he can micro that Marine out. Oh, he does. It's fantastic. All that wasted energy. This is what I was talking about. If he decided to throw in the turrets, he would have that energy. Now the Hellions are going to come in and try and get us around on these Marines, and they're getting a lot of volleys off that are putting a lot of damage. But the Marines have great numbers, and the support from the medevacs is real. The medevac support is real. Now it's just Vikings and 1 Hellion versus a bunch of Marines and 2 siege tanks. This is not going in favor of Strix. The early command center advantage is not going to pay off here. These 2 siege tanks are not even sieging up. Now they are. The command center is lifted for Strix. He's in a really tough position. He's going to have to lose all of those SCVs because siege tanks like to kill SCVs if they bunch up. He scans into the main. He likes what he sees. There's no units really to contest this. The stem is now finished for Clare as he stems these 6 Marines up into the main. He's going to keep leapfrogging these siege tanks forward. That's a scan from Clare, it looks like. He sees that he's not going to be able to compete with that. Rather, a scan from Strix, and GG is called. All right, hello and welcome back to Game 2 of the series between our 2 Terran players here. The map is Acheron Wastes, and we're going to get right into the player introductions. Spawning in the top left corner, once again ripping that teal, which I said earlier was my, what's the word that I use? My non-existent girlfriend's favorite color. It is...
Strix.
And in the bottom right, his opponent taking game 1 pretty handily on Daybreak. Now let's see if he can pull it again for a quick 2-0 on Acheron Wastes. He is repping that green color.
Forged Force Gaming, Clare.
And we're getting right back into it here. The build order is not looking too different from either player. We do have Reapers on the way for both players. And we're going to see what that will get out for either player. This is really funny. What you typically see in these situations is whichever Reaper gets the first shot off typically wins. Claire is going to go ahead and go for an early command center. And that's an interesting decision. I don't know if I'm in love with the idea, but let's see if he can make it work. Of course, he's the one playing, not me, and it turns out that the call that I made last game about disagreeing with the Banshees was actually a pretty rough idea. Strix goes ahead and he knows that the Reaper's on the way, so he's going to position his Reaper on the high ground. That's going to enable him to get that first shot off that is going to let him win that little duel. A bit of a mirror build coming out of here. Strix is going to go ahead and build his command center pretty decently early as well, though behind his opponent. The Reaper does come into the main, but Strix is able to get his first shot off. Claire, handedly recognizing it, is going to go ahead and pull back. But did he see the command center getting built? He did not see it. So far, so good for Strix, able to hide any sort of tech coming out. And now Claire's the one who's going to be attempting to get back in and get a read on the situation. Strix's Reaper is there, though. In my opinion, I think Claire's going to go ahead and send this Reaper in and just kamikaze it because he needs the information. He needs to know if he's going to be coming up against Banshees. There are 2 Marines here on the top. They're able to get a couple good shots off, and that Reaper's going to die. So let's see. What did he see? Not too much. He saw a reactor, but he doesn't know what it's connected to. And it might be a factory. It might be a barracks. It does lift up, and the factory goes down. This is a decision that, in my opinion, actually cost Strix the game last time around. So, if we discuss last game, he went for the early CC, and then he went for Reactored Factory to start double producing Hellions. And what did that do? It enabled him to not produce SEVs at as high a rate as Clare was. Clare was just producing Marines. Of course, Hellions twice as much as Marines. And what that means is that Clare was able to get an early SEV advantage, which itself turned into an army advantage in the mid-game push when he won the game with. And so that was something that you see, okay, early CC, well, you want that to reap reward in more SEVs, and Strix was not able to see that out because he produced so many Hellions. We do have a bit of a supply advantage for Clare, not too big of a difference here. Both players are just getting their army compositions up and running. No real early game shenanigans except for Cloak, which is researching for Strix. He goes ahead and scans the main, sees that there's 3 racks down, as well as an engineering bay, and nothing too crazy come out of Clare. Almost looking similar to a Terran versus Protoss build, but there are definitely some 3 racks builds that you can make work versus Terran, especially if you get early upgrades, which he is doing. He's getting Stim Pack. He already has level 1 weapons finished, and he's going to go ahead and get level 1 armor as well. We do have a lot of Hellions and Marines, and if microed correctly from Strix, Banshees and Marines and Hellions can get a lot done in this early game, almost game ending. Clare choosing to go a little bit more bio-oriented as we see the second factory coming out for Strix, which I'm assuming is going to transfer him into a mech mid-game. So the bio player, Clare, going to go ahead and take the Xel'Naga watchtowers, which is very key because you're going to rely on information from those Xel'Naga towers that you're going to get. And as a bio player, you always want to have control of the Xel'Naga towers. I'm not sure he knows he's playing against mech at this point. Let me check his vision. He does know that the factory is on the reactor, but I'm not sure he's too positive that he's going against mech. But it is obviously going to pay off dividends with this Xel'Naga tower because now he sees the Banshee. Let's see if he responds accurately. He's already got a turret down in the natural, and he's got a turret coming up in the main as well. So if he pulls his SCVs off this refinery, he shouldn't lose too much, and he goes ahead and he's going to stim those Marines up. Is he? Nope. He's no stem was needed. Instead, I heard the Cloak go down for the Banshee. That was what I mistook for the stem. The Banshee is going to get a couple shots off. It already has 2 kills, but it's really not able to get much else done. 3 kills, and he's going to go ahead and target this refinery. In my opinion, now the stem comes forward. He's going to scan, and the Banshee's actually going to be able to get away. I don't know if I agreed with the attempt to get that. Of course, a scan, you use it instead of a mule. A mule is 400 minerals, essentially, down the drain for not picking up a Banshee. Maybe the Banshee paid off. We do have Strix going to go ahead and bring a siege tank down to his natural ramp, and he's going to rally another Banshee out there. So Strix going for mech play. He's going to have another Banshee on the way as this Banshee goes ahead, and it's still working on this refinery, gets it burning. Those Marines are going to take it out, though, and the Marines actually do end up getting the kill. Let's see if he puts repairing SCV on that just in time, and he does. Clare not missing a beat on that. Scouting Marine does see the second Banshee on its way, so he knows that he can't exactly leave for a little bit if he's going to have to deal with the pressuring Banshee. And it goes ahead and cleans up another scouting Marine as it makes its way across the map. He's going to run into a pretty big bioforce here. Let's see if Clare can catch him out in the open. No, he sees it now. Okay. Oh, there it goes. Down goes the Banshee. That was not too great coming out of Strix. It's really unfortunate. That's a scan. He sees the army of Clare moving out. In my opinion, this is going to be relatively easy to hold. He's got a lot of siege tanks. He's got a decent little ramp wall off, but this is a lot of Marauders and Marines with some medevac support. His stem is already finished. He's already got Terran Infantry weapons level 2 on the way, and concussive shells about to finish. More medevacs coming across the map as well as Marauders. He's going to plan his attack, and Clare's got a pretty decent supply lead. He's going to stem a Marauder and a Marine up just to have a scout around and find out Blue Flame is there. There's a bunker and a siege tank at least. He might not know about the second one. In my opinion, Clare's going to pick up and try and lift into the main. That's what I would do. Maybe I'm not as good as Clare, but he's actually just going to chill out. We see a scan coming down in the natural from Clare, and he sees it. There's a scan from Strix. He's going to pull out all of his Hellions. He's going to try and get surrounded this bio with blue flame. This is going to be able to chew through a lot of Marines and a supporting siege tank. The bio is melted from these Hellions. He's not even transforming into Hellbat mode. He doesn't need to. There are a lot of Marauders here with medevac support, but all the Marines getting instantly incinerated by the blue flame Hellions, paying off in the blood of Marines does that upgrade. Holy cow, that was amazing to watch. Those Marines got absolutely barbecued, did not meet a very good end. Mama's little boy, Billy, signed up for the Marines, thought he was going to go and see the world, and instead got absolutely incinerated by some cars with a giant flamethrower on top. Not exactly the best thing you want to do for your military career. But we do have Claire going to go ahead and take the earlier third, but Strix is also floating across. There's a scan from Clare to note where the army position is from Strix. He knows for sure now, of course, that he's going full mech play. So he knows what he's up against. We're going to see what the response is. He's still sticking with the bio. Akalon Wastes is a fantastic map for drop play, and I think Strix knows that well because in his main base towards the cliff edge, he's got a sensor tower, which is a little bit of an underutilized tool in the arsenal of Terran. He's got a missile turret going up in front of his tanks, sieged on the low ground at his third. This is a pretty easy third to take, in my opinion, not as easy as the one across from the rocks, but no doubt it's definitely holdable. We have a slight supply advantage for Clare, but you would expect that from bio play. And we have the heavier units in mech, so not able to produce them as fast as possible. I'm going to take a sip of coffee before I die of throat bursting all over my mic. Okay. It's a good thing. I hope I don't have throat cancer. We'll find out shortly. ASL is going to be the end of me. We do have these Hellions. I do see the Vikings coming away, and with that, he probably knows that the army's behind it. We do have the Marine at the watchtower getting sniped. They're not going to go ahead and take the watchtower. They're going to go around and try and sneak in and see what they can find out. There's another sensor tower up, so now Strix knows exactly where this army is. He sees it. I'm pretty sure he's confident that he can engage it one-on-one. But as with any mech player, he's being patient. He's waiting until he gets the composition that he wants and needs to push out. One thing that I would recommend is that he should send these Hellions on a little bit more run-bys. If he's not going to, and that's exactly what he's doing. Strix is going to send 3 Hellions in here with Blue Flame. They're going to see how many SCVs they can get. Marauders with concussive shells are able to stop one of them, but now he's going to go ahead and tear up these SCV line. This is really big. Claire still doesn't know what's going on. He's just watching his SCVs die. I don't know what else he's looking at right now. That was huge. One Hellion getting 6 kills and the other one getting around 5 or 6. A bunch of SCVs lost. We do have level 3 upgrades coming in for the bio army as level 2, and 1 armor comes in for the mech player Strix, but a really big loss on that third in SCVs. Of course, you can push out those SCVs again, but at the cost of 3 Hellions, that was for sure worth it in terms of a little baby mineral investment. We do have a 4th going down alongside the natural force Strix, so he's looking to further push forward his grasp on the game in terms of his economy as Claire pushes out with a big bioforce supported by medevacs and Vikings here on the right. He goes ahead with a forward scan, notes that nothing is at that expansion. This could actually turn out to be a really bad decision for Claire. If he gets sandwiched here up on this ramp, the Hellions are already in position. He's getting his siege tanks back. Strix is going to siege his tanks. He's going to transform his Hellions into Hellbats, and I think Claire, rightfully so, knows he's in a really bad position and is going to stem out of there. Probably a good decision because that army is not going to go. Now he's going to push. The tanks are unsieged. Let's see if he can catch this army out in the open. The bioforces are on better upgrades. The Hellbats aren't going to do too well against Marines and Marauders, but the tanks are sieged. They're getting a couple of engagements off. The Vikings are able to shoot on medevacs, but the Marauder numbers are too great, and they're able to sweep in on the siege line. The siege tanks are going to have to unsiege. These Marauder numbers are way too big. The air advantage does go to Strix, but the Marauders are just going to keep pushing through. Siege tank after siege tank drops. He goes and up the ramp. Now, finally, the siege tank numbers have reconciled and consolidated at the top of the natural as more bio from Claire comes streaming across the map, still on 3 bases as both player. A fantastic engagement. That's a lot of units lost for Strix. A lot of siege tanks got sniped, but there's, of course, a big gas investment in medevacs lost, as well as Marauders and Vikings. The game, I think, in a little bit kind of evened out. The upgrades are going to start pushing through for Strix here as his level 3 attack and level 2 armor finishes up. And so that engagement was really telling. It showed that Clare wasn't really scared to engage straight up because he trusted in his army control. He might have overstimmed a little bit here and there as we see another hit squad of 3 Hellions come out. I think Strix likes 3 Hellions. It's not too much of an investment. He's going to get into the 4th here, and he's going to get a lot of these SCVs caught out. He might morph them into Hellbats or just leave them in Hellion format. He is leaving the Hellion format. Wow, so many SCVs going down here. We got 3 kills for 1 Hellion. 2 more, and they're going to keep going down. They're going to go to work. He's going to have to pull back all of his bioforces to deal with this. That's not what he wants to be doing. He's getting pulled left and right as Strix is able to increasingly get up his army back home. His siege tanks are sieged in position. He's now floating his 4th, and he's going to be able to take that expansion. Meanwhile, Clare still has map control. He's going to be pushing out here a little bit, poking and prodding, seeing if he can get any engagements favorably. He's working on these rocks. Actually, it's a really good idea. I think he knows, you know what, if another hit squad of Hellions gets past me, I need to have that wall off ready there at the 4th expansion, so at least they're not going to be able to get through there for a long time. 3 Hellions will take a while to get through that rock formation. He's going to go ahead and scan, and he sees the 4th, or the 3rd rather, with an extra CC there. The sensor tower is there, of course. It's going to be completely ready for all of this. Scans are dropping down for Clare. He's trying to find out how the siege tanks are sieged so he can find his angle. The key here is Clare has got to make his engagements more cost efficient. But he can stream bio across quicker, and he's going to have to make the engagements in terms of he's going to trade minerals for the gas investment. That's what he wants to do. He wants to bleed the mech player out of gas. So he's working on those rocks, but Strix is going to go ahead and siege his tanks up, catching a little bit of the Bioforce out, but Clare, rightfully so, is going to pull back, and he, funnily enough, is not supporting his Bioforces with siege tanks. He is getting upgrades for his from his armory, but we see what is the next move from Clare, and it is air. He's got a fusion core. Yeah, he's got a fusion core down here in the bottom right. I can do a fusion core dance. I'm not sure. We've got a fusion core in the bottom right. That's Saber's favorite unit. I'm pretty positive I've seen enough of his games to know that. And we've got him researching Behemoth Reactor, and the Yamato cannon is on its way as well. So the air switch is what Clare has gone ahead and decided is the most important thing that's going to win him this game. And with +3 attack already finished for his, or actually really close to being on the way for his armory, it's going to pay dividends, I think, if too much of Strix's supply is maintained in the siege tank line. Not enough Vikings. I think this is a really good read for Clare. Essentially, all he has to do is bleed off some supply and then get his battle cruisers into essentially a big enough army in order to make a difference. You know, 2 or 3 battle cruisers is not going to do it. As he stims in, the siege tanks are going to siege. I don't know if this is a good idea. He's trying to bleed off supply maybe, but one siege line fires, another one goes off. He's able to flank it, but a lot of the bile going down to the hits from the siege tanks. Strix is probably going to come out with a favorable engagement in that respect, and Claire's going to back off. Maybe Clare knows what he's doing here. I think he's trying to bleed off supply. He's faking Strix out. He's making Strix stay at home while he tech switches into battle cruisers. Clare, I think you should hide that battle cruiser. I'm not going to go ahead and tell you what to do, but he's going to forward scan again, trying to find out where the army is. Who's throwing down scans? So many scans going down. This is a really good TVT matchup for us. There's another hit squad of Hellions gets cleaned up. So Strix does see the battle cruiser. Let's see what the reaction is. We have 4 Widow Mines on the way from Strix, so I want to see mass Widow Mine versus mass battle cruiser. That would be hilarious and amazing if we got to see that on the way, but we have a lot of Vikings being produced from Strix, 5 in total, 2 battle cruisers and 1 Viking on the way for Clare as he takes a 5th in the top right of the map. These Vikings are going to go ahead and move forward with 1 battle cruiser. There's nothing to contest them because the Viking numbers are in favor of Clare. So all he has to do is let this 1 battle cruiser go to work on these siege tanks. Strix's response is to build turrets on the low ground. That's never what you want to do. He's not unsieging his tanks. He's just going to leave them there. This 1 battle cruiser is already taken out 2. He's going to go ahead and snipe the SCVs. He's going to take out a 3rd here. Now here come the Widow Mines. They're going to try and go down and burrow underneath. 1 Widow Mine is able to burrow, but he doesn't get the shot off. The battle cruiser paying off just itself. The Vikings do come in. The scans are going down. More Widow Mines making their way across the map. The battle cruiser does go down, but there are more on the way as Clare's bio is going to try and come in here and snipe the rocks. This is insane. There's so much action happening. I don't know if I can keep track of it all. I'm talking faster than a Korean auctioneer. So we have a little wall off here from the supply depots for Strix behind these rocks, just in case Clare's Bioforce does get through those rocks. He's got an extra layer of protection for him. So many scans going down from both player, noting army position and composition. Both of those extremely important at this stage of the game. Strix being all as turtle as he can be, making turrets on the ground to support those Vikings and Widowmines. Now he's going to push out. He's unsieging his tanks. He's going to note the position of the battlecruiser. He might catch one out in the open. The tanks are sieging up. In come the Marauders. They're going to stem. The Widowmines are burning. The Vikings are shooting at each other. So much action is going on. The battlecruisers are putting down as much as they can, but there's a lot of Vikings. Widowmines are going to burrow under. Are they going to get the shots off necessary? The shots are going to go off. Oh my god, all the Vikings are gone for Clare. He doesn't have any more of the air advantage, and the Widowmines have paid themselves off in shots on the Vikings, giving the air advantage right back to Strix. Strix now with 173 supply advantage to 118. He's going to make this pay off with a massive army supply advantage. The late game is where Strix wanted to take this. He was able to do so successfully. Now he's unsieging the tanks. He's going to have some forward scans. He's taken his fifth of his own here in the bottom left. He's going to consolidate. He's going to wait until he gets 200. He knows he's in an incredibly good position right now. He's with 3-3 upgrade advantage. Even if we have more battlecruisers on the map, for Clare coming out, he's only at 3-1 armor, 3 weapons. The scans going down from both players, so no army position. The Widowmines are burning defensively. Siege tanks are going to siege up here. The Vikings are going to get some shots off on Medevacs. The Widowmines are going to burrow under this battlecruiser, and it's gone. Widowmines absolutely counter battlecruisers. This is some insanely sick play coming out of Strix. I'm having the biggest Terran erection right now. Oh my goodness gracious, I love it. Widowmines versus battlecruisers. It doesn't get much better than that in late game TVT. There's no turtle mech going down right now. It is in another engagement on below the natural ramp of Clare. GG is called. Strix taking game 2 to tie the series 1-1 on Akalon Waste. Okay, welcome back to the rubber match, the final match of this 3-game series to determine who goes on to the winner's match of Group C, and for a chance to qualify onto the round of 16 in 2 matches instead of having to play a third one or losing and just completely losing out of this group. I do want to go ahead and thank our observer Saver. He's the one behind the scenes making everything happen. He's got the new graphics. He's got all the good stuff, the video introductions. He's the one putting in the man hours behind to make everything go smoothly. So thank you very much for that. But I'm going to go ahead and transition right into the player introductions because I'm sure, as you know, we're going to have a lot to talk about in this series. Spawning in the top right corner, he's in, what is it, teal? Yeah, teal. It's blue or teal, one of the baby blues. I don't know. There's so many blues out there. He is currently 1-1 against Clare. Tied up with that last series with some great Widowmine and Viking play. Your Teal Terran.
Forged Force Gaming, Clare.
And his opponent in the bottom left corner. He's repping that green. He took game 1 pretty handily in a decent build order win off of Daybreak. But his air's transition did not necessarily pay off dividends as some Widowmines got some sneaky little hits up on some massive capital ships called battlecruisers. He's trying to take it 2 games to 1 on Cloud Kingdom.
Strix.
He is your Green Terran.
Forged Force Gaming, Clare.
Okay, and getting right into the action, Strix's Reaper is going to go ahead and get in here and get a good scout and notice that there's a tech lab building on a factory and a starport building right next to the factory. Clare does have Marines that are going to counter, but he is, very, very close to sniping that SCV that was building the starport. In the end, does not manage to get it. That would have been a pretty big pickup because that little bit of time, is he going to come back and get it? Actually, he is. So now Clare's going to have to transfer an SCV, actually ending up not being that much time, but anytime a Reaper scouts and also kills an SCV or a drone or probe, it is a victory, no matter how small. The Marines are going to come out and try and kill it, but if I'm Strix, I'm going to put that Reaper right into the main again, as he does, even though it's on low health, there's no units contesting. He might be able to pick up a second SCV here. There's one Marine in the main that is going to shoo him away, so Strix's Reaper is probably seen the last of its days and is going to be chilling outside of the third expansion and maybe getting picked off from Clare here. He sends 2 Marines out to scout around, see if there's any shenanigans, seeing if that Reaper is coming back into the main. And as of right now, he hasn't seen it, and he is not. Going back to Clare's base, he has put a reactor on a Rex. He's got his second orbital up and researching. He does have a Widow Mine out to counter the eventual Banshee that he predicts is coming, which, by the way, he is now scouting. He also scouts that the tech lab for Clare is not researching, so he doesn't actually have to put down turrets at this point in time. He does have one Widow Mine burrowed right near the Vespine Geyser, so maybe a little hidden. I don't know if Clare will be able to spot it. If so, that would be an amazing Tasia-like reaction. We do have a Viking that is going to be ready to meet this non-cloaked Banshee when it comes into the base. So thus far, a bit of a metagame, not necessarily a metagame because he didn't predict it. He was able to scout it. So a small victory for Strix that we will see if it pans out. We see a scan from, who scanned? Strix scanned and sees the command center going down as the Widow Mine does get a shot off on the Banshee and bring it down to 15 health. The Banshee is going to instantly retreat. He doesn't want any part of that. And Strix is able to deny what could have been a pretty successful Banshee. There is a second Banshee on the way. Once again, Claire's producing 2 Banshees without cloak. He probably knows something I don't know about that. But Strix is going to go ahead and put turrets up in both mineral lines in order to counter any sort of further Banshee aggression. Now, back at home, we see Clare making Marines, and he's actually making a siege tank. So last game, we saw him go almost pure bio into a battle cruiser transition. This time, he's going to support his bio with siege tanks, as he did in the first game with that push that won him the game on Daybreak. And we see coming out of Strix more of the same. He's producing a Raven, and he's got a reactor on that factory producing Hellions 2 at a time. So we're going to see if Strix is going to transition into the mech play that he was famous for last game. And coming back to Clare, Clare's got his Banshees at home. He's repairing the one that got hit by the Widow Mine. We'll see if he can use those for the eventual push that I guarantee you is going to be coming out of him as soon as he gets that second siege tank out. He does have 3 barracks, 2 without add-ons. Stim is going to be finishing up here in approximately 94 seconds. So we've got Marines, we've got upgrades on their way, and we're going to see 2 of Clare's Banshees make their way across the map, and they're actually going to get met by a Marine on this Zelnaga tower. They're spotted. So the gig is up. Clare, you've been seen, and he's going to have, Strix is going to have Vikings and Marines in the right positions to deal with these Banshees if he predicts that they're coming right into the natural, which they are. Ooh, okay, now they're just chilling over those rocks, not really doing anything. Now they come in, they're going to start popping off some shots in a refinery. Viking gets a volley off against one of them, and a second one. Clare, be careful with your Banshees. Those are a pretty big investment, and I'm pretty sure you need them for the push. He's going to go ahead and hightail it out of here, and Strix is going to pull back his Viking. Going back to Clare's base, Strix does scan and see a siege tank moving out as well as a medevac. We have a bit of lag. Hopefully it goes away. It does. The push is real. Clare's pushing out with a bunch of Marines. How many Marines does he have moving out with this? He's got 22 Marines, 2 Banshees, 2 medevacs, and 3 siege tanks. So that is the push coming out from Clare. He's going to try and win the game from the outright. Strix does not have any siege tanks on the field as of right now. He does have 1 building, but this could be game ending. This is the push that we saw win Clare's first game. Akalon wastes much longer spawn distances, so that might have been the difference. Scan goes down from Clare, and he sees the army positioning. Does he like what he sees? Oh, the turret's going to go ahead and take out 1 Banshee, did it? Yeah, it killed 1 Banshee. That's almost huge. We'll see the siege tanks are going to siege up, and they're going to start leapfrogging. 1 Seeker Missile goes down on a Marine. Is he going to be able to micro it out of there? Oh, he picks it up, and he gets out of there with all Marines alive. That was a really sick play to pick up that Marine in the medevac. It's really innovative and quick reactions from Clare, demonstrating that Master's level brilliance that I'm sure he's had before, even though right now he's a diamond. We do have a siege tank now sieged up on the high ground of the main for Strix. It's going to have to do work because he doesn't have many things else going for him right now. There is, of course, plenty of Hellions for him to maybe get some shots on these Marines. There's only 2 medevacs supplying healing power. Strix, pretty importantly, only made 1 Viking to counter the Banshees and use the rest of that gas to go into the siege tank production. He's got another siege tank on the map now, and Blue Flame is very close to being finished. So if ooh, Strix is going to poke in with a couple Hellions. He loses a couple unnecessarily. Looked like 2 or 3 that he lost, so he didn't need to do that. But if Strix is able to hold this off until his upgrades kick in, he might be able to win it with Blue Flame and Siege Tank positioning outright. We do have a scan go down from both players to no army position. The Raven is going to try and get a Seeker Missile off on one of these tanks. The Seeker Missile is going to... oh, it's picked up by the medevac, and it only slightly damages one of the forward siege tanks. We do have these 2 Vikings now out for Strix, and Clare, not willing to test the patience of his air superiority, is going to go ahead and unsiege and go home. So Strix able to hold. We'll see if he's able to take this into an advantage at some point. He does have his 3rd CC finished, but Clare, so importantly, he has already established his 3rd right outside of his main, and he does have 13 mining SCVs already, and that is going to pay dividends. Strix, your supply blocked. Build supply depots. He's got 3 that are about to finish in his main, but of course supply is one of those things that can just come back to bite you in the ass as you are trying to get your macro up and running to counter what is going to be some bio play coming out of Forged Force Gaming's Clare. He does have a ton of racks at home. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 6 have reactors on them. He's going to be pounding out Marines like nobody's business. Last game, Clare was let Strix sit back, or Strix actually was able to sit back and really pay dividends with his mech army getting the composition that he wanted. This time, I think Clare's going to be a lot more aggressive. He's not going to let him sit back and get what he wants. The Marine production is real. He's putting out tons at a time. We do have infantry weapons level 2 coming and armor level 1 about to finish off. 5 Marines at a time coming out of our green Terran as he's moving around with this Bioforce in the middle of the map, trying to see if he can poke and prod and maybe take any sort of advantage home with him. He's already going to go ahead and expand and take the 4th. This is a really good response from Clare because he's going to go ahead and take advantage of the immobility of Strix's mech army. Of course, Strix doesn't know this is happening. He could move out with Hellions and snipe this, but Clare is taking advantage of the sheepish nature of the mech player. He's going to go ahead and scan forward, see that there's nothing defending this 3rd expansion. He's got his army in the range of the sensor tower, so Strix should see this coming. He's going to go ahead and reposition his Hellions, but there's a lot of siege tanks here. He stems forward the Marines. Strix is going to have to lift the command center and start healing it. The Marine spread is too real. He's going to go ahead and snipe the sensor tower and pull back into the safety of the range of the siege tanks. He unsieges. Now he's going to move. He's going to keep doing this sort of play, forcing Strix to adjust his army, forcing Strix to lift command centers. Scans forward. He sees the position of the army. He's going to siege on the low ground. He's going to scan forward and get a couple shots off on these Hellions. Not really paying dividends. Strix is able to maneuver his army out of the way. There is currently a 5 siege tank lead to 6 siege tanks for Clare, who's got the lead on the low ground. But we do have more siege tanks coming up and supporting. And of course, the Marine production is real. He's got 5 Marines producing at a time. If you go home and look in his main, he's got plenty of reactored barracks, and they just keep pushing out Marines like nobody's business. A little bit of an engagement here on the natural ramp. I don't know if this is a good idea. He's going to lose all of these Marines, and a really good shot for the Seeker Missile from the Raven coming down on that siege tank, so he's going to lose that. Meanwhile, a stim at the 3rd base. Clare going in with his Bioforce against all these siege tanks, and he's going to lose all that bio. I don't know if that was a really good idea, but the siege tanks on the low ground, of course, providing enough substantial support to go ahead and make sure that Strix is still having to defend his 3rd. He's still going to have to be proactive in this defense. More Marines streaming across the map. Can Strix counter the production efforts of Clare? Those Marines are just going right into the siege tank lines, though. I don't know if they're getting the trades, the inefficient trades that they need to be getting. They need to be getting efficient trades, rather. I don't know if it's working out for Clare so well in that respect, but he does have the mech player only on 3 bases at 17 minutes. Strix is going to have to make a play here eventually because Clare is just going to keep whittling him down. There is a drop that's going to go down in the main of Strix from Clare. There is a turret there, but is it going to be able to take out the medevac in time? Is it going to be in range? It isn't. It is just outside the range. There are Vikings there. They're going to spot it, and it's going to have to try and boost out of there, but that is a good pickup from Strix. Coming down into the 3rd. Strix is going to have to lift his 3rd. The Vikings going to come in to provide some support, but once again, lifting the 3rd. Clare maintaining an economic dominance as he's going to go ahead and keep trading SCVs onto his 4th command center. More Marines, if you look at the minimap, just streaming across, and he's going to keep reinforcing this tank line. All he's going to have to do is sit these siege tanks here, and eventually the trades are going to be too cost ineffective for Strix because he only has 3 mining bases. Of course, we have another command center going up for him, but can he even take a 4th? This 3rd is constantly under siege. The SCVs are doing more repairing than they're doing mining. Once again, Strix is going to have to lift his command center as he drops mules. Getting a little flustered, I think, from the pressure. The Marines are going to catch a couple of tanks unsieged. Now they siege for Strix, but he's able to snipe all 4 siege tanks. No, he just one left over. He does get it as this bio and tank force is going to come up here into the natural of Strix and start going to town on SCVs. These tanks aren't even sieging because they don't really have to. They're putting out as much DPS as they want on siege. They're taking out, Lord knows, they're taking out SCVs, they're taking out turrets, and they're going to put out a lot of damage as well as still keeping this third of Strix in the air. It doesn't matter if Clare loses this whole force because he's already made it cost effective. He took out 4 siege tanks right at the beginning of the engagement. Now he's just rallying his units to the natural of Strix. Strix, you need to make a play. Now the unsieged tanks at the third of Clare are going to come in here and clean up these siege tanks. Strix's Banshee is going to be going to work, but it's too little too late. All the SCVs coming away from Strix's third are going to get gobbled up by the reinforcements. The Banshee's even shot down by those Marines. Now these tanks are able to siege on the low ground with the medevacs boosting in and dropping the Marines on the main. Even though the siege tanks are able to clean up the drop, the vision provided by the medevacs is going to snipe this command center that Strix is now going to have to lift to save. Strix is in a really tough position, 161 supply, down to 67. All he's doing is producing Banshees and Siege Tanks and Hellions, and they're not going to be enough because the reinforcements are real. Clare streaming across the map. He's even taken a 5th in the bottom right just in case it wasn't enough, producing another factory. Strix is going to have to try and land this 3rd, but it's not going to work out because the tanks are just going to start shooting the shit out of it, and it's going to just evaporate into thin air. Lift it, Strix. I don't know. You can't really do much else. The Marines are already there. More Marines rallying across. Yeah, now there's the stem. They're coming across into the natural. Hellions and Vikings, and 1 siege tank is going to siege up, but it's not going to be enough. The Marines are going to be able to come in here and snipe the siege tank before it gets any sort of meaningful shots off. The Marines are going to snipe the siege tanks on the high ground and the main. Now they're streaming into the main, and Clare takes it 2 games to 1.